So good morning, everybody. Welcome on behalf of EPPO to this webinar on the emerald ash borer, Agrilus planipennis, its occurrence in the EPPO region, and also the preparedness of countries for its further spread. And I would like to welcome all participants. The number is still increasing, but we are over 300 participants now, and a special welcome to our presenters of today. So I'm very happy that they were willing to present the situation in their country and have a discussion on the current occurrence and the preparedness for future appearance in their country. So thank you special for the presenters. Before we go into the contents, I first would like to give some general information before we start. So can I have the next slide? So this webinar will take 3 hours. We'll have a break in the middle. The timing is that we have 15 minutes per presentation and 5 to 10 minutes to answer questions. Of course, we have this better flexibility in this timing. You can ask your questions as participants in the section question and answers. So please formulate your questions clear and concise. You can do that anytime during the meeting. You don't have to wait till the end of the meeting. But after the presentation, we will select a number of questions, and some questions can also be answered in writing. And also at the end of the webinar, there's time for questions. I think the number of participants is still increasing, but that shows the large interest for this subject. And I think that's very good. And of course, it's a pest of concern for many of our countries. So the program is on this slide on the right. We'll start with an introduction and then about EPPO and about the network. And then we'll continue first with a presentation of a country where the pest is present. And then we go through several presentations of countries neighboring or nearby this country, they are preparing, doing surveys and preparing in case it would appear in their country. And that's a good way to exchange experience of countries that have the pest at the moment and countries that are preparing for possible arrival. And I hope this webinar will give you a good idea of what expertise is available, but also have a good possibility to have a discussion based on these presentations. So with that, I would like to go to the first presentation, but before doing that, I would like to introduce the people around the table here. Dmitry Musolin, Scientific Officer of EPPO, is sitting next to me. He's leading the network on Agrilus, and he has done a lot of work in it to disseminate the information, but also to have the contact between the experts in this area. Then we have Nathalie Boutron here, who supports us with the technical part of the presentation, so the slides, but also the projection and any technical issues that come up during the meeting. So I feel confident. Always, if experts are there, things don't go wrong. And we have Liisa Perez sitting here. She will answer your chats if you have any problems, and also help with the questions that you raise. So this is the support from EPPO side to let this webinar run as smoothly as possible. By now we have 380 participants, so it may still increase, but it's good that we have so many participants. But before going into the emerald ash borer, I have just a few slides on EPPO to introduce it to those that don't know EPPO. EPPO is the European and Mediterranean Plant Protection Organization. It's an intergovernmental organization which was created in 1951 by 15 countries, but now has 52 member countries. These are the countries that are indicated green on the map. The scope of EPPO is work in plant health, and that's both in plant quarantine and plant protection products. And of course, the subject for today is more focusing on plant quarantine. And for this work, we work for and with national plant protection organizations. EPPO wouldn't be able to do all this work on its own. The EPPO Secretariat is facilitating it, but relies on all the expertise being available in our countries. And you see, if you want more information, on the bottom we see www.eppo.int. That's our website where a lot of information is available. Next slide, please. There's one element that I would like to stress of our work, especially, and that's information exchange. We have EPPO Global Database, where you can find a lot of information on pests, including on Agrilus planipennis. Here's the page of Agrilus planipennis and the distribution map. This database has very useful information, and that's one of the tasks of EPPO, is to collect information, but to also make it easily available for our member countries. There's much more to say about EPPO, but for that I refer to the website. This is just a short introduction, and now I hand over to Dmitry Musolin to introduce the network.
Okay, thank you. Next slide, please, and next one. Next here. 2 years ago, the EPPO panel on quarantine pests for forestry decided to organize a network of experts working on surveillance, monitoring, control of emerald ash borer on all issues related to this pest in Europe. And this network was organized. Next one. Next slide. So we started the web page of this network on the web page of EPPO. Next one. And actually, by now we have more than 280 participants, experts in this network. They are from all 5 continents, but most of all, of course, from the 40 EPPO countries. But in general, it's 47 countries, so we have a wide representation. And on the right, you can see that there is a big team from United Kingdom, from Germany, from Russia, and from more than 40 other countries. Next one. During these 2 years, we published 6 newsletters, and now we do this every 4 months, so it's every 3 months. So now we have 4 issues per year, and this is like a core activity of this network. And in the newspapers, you can find very different kind of information. It might be notes from field work. It might be, as you can see on the screen. And the second example is information from Ukraine on dynamic map of distribution of this pest in the country. Or it can be information of new or ongoing research project with focus on this species. We published highlights of the most important, most interesting papers recently published, or even PhD or master thesis. It might be information about new coming or recent conferences where this pest was discussed. And I want to use this opportunity to invite you, if you have any piece of information that you want to share, it maybe scientific paper or scientific or citizen science project you start. It can be new publication or conference presentation or request of information of sample of this pest, or maybe invitation to collaborate. Just don't hesitate to send email to me, and we will discuss how. I will ask you to write a short few paragraphs, and we'll be happy to publish it. I just want to mention several other activities which this network had during the last 2 years. There was a call to share reference specimens, because for countries it's important to have not only photographs but also physical samples of this pest in their national reference collection. And we started exchange of these samples. Ukraine helped to get some to Sweden. Then United Kingdom started to help, and now we got a collection, a big box of beetles from Canada. So we also helped few countries to obtain samples. In the summer of this year, we helped the European Union Reference Laboratory to run the proficiency test focused on this species. So we also sent some samples to them. The next project within this network, and this is what we will do during the next year, we'll start during the next year, is we want to create a dynamic map of spreading of Agrilus planipennis in Europe. So we are forming together with the forestry panel of EPPO a team of experts who will collect this data from earlier publications and will transfer this to the online map. Thank you. And from the very beginning, we discussed that it would be very good to have a physical meeting or webinar and discuss how country get prepared for spread of this pest in Europe. So a few months ago, we invited NPPO, which is National Plant Protection Organization, of countries in which Agrilus planipennis is present. So currently it's Russia and Ukraine, and countries located near the current limit of distribution of this pest. It's Belarus, Estonia, Finland, Kazakhstan, and Latvia to take part in this webinar. And NPPOs of 5 countries accepted our invitation, and we asked them to present the current situation and the control measures undertaken or planned in their countries to limit the spread and impact of this pest. We can see that the interest to this webinar is really high, and I checked this morning and it was almost 650 people registered to attend. Here you can see some statistic, and I stopped to, I took this data when it was 600 people. Again, we have attendees from 5 continents, from 55 countries. And again, majority, of course, is from the 42 EPPO countries. Again, we have a very big team from United Kingdom. It's 100 people listening from the UK, from almost 100 from Poland, from Germany, and from more than 50 other countries. Yeah, you have the program, you have seen this on the screen, and in a minute we'll have a presentation from Russia, then Belarus, then we'll have a 10 minutes break, and after break there will be 3 more presentations from Estonia, Finland, and Latvia. That's it from me. Yeah, and just after the you already have summaries of all the presentation. They're available on the website of network, and we are recording our webinar, and we'll post the link to the recording. It will be available on the website of network. And I don't remember what was the last line. It's okay, it's okay. Yeah, that's it probably, yeah.
So thank you very much, Dmitry, for introducing the network, and also that shows that this pest has a great interest. Or you can also say there's a great concern about this pest, which I can understand. So with this webinar, we try to assist people and takes maybe some of the concern away. We will start with the first presenter. This will be Oleg Kulinich from the All Russian Center of Plant Quarantine. in Bukovo in the Moscow region, and that is one of the countries where the emerald ash borer is present. So, Oleg, the floor is yours. You can share your presentation and you can start.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you hear me well? Oh,
yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we can. Good afternoon. My presentation is about the current situation of the emerald ash borer in Russia, its spread, damage, and control. The first survey associated with the extent of emerald ash borer, I will call below it AAB, in the European part of Russia was conducted in the early 2000s during research initiative that addressed the abundant ash tree mortality in Moscow. As a result of these efforts, the widespread ash mortality was due to emerald ash borer infestation. The native range of emerald ash borer is the Russian Far East, in addition to China, Mongolia, South Korea, North Korea, and Japan. In the Russian Far East, EAB is considered a rare and endemic species, where populations are associated with dying and stressed ash trees. There are several species of ash trees in Russia. In the Russian Far East, Fraxinus manjurica is a predominant ash species. Chinese ash, Fraxinus chinensis, is also common. Emerald ash borer generally only infest severely weakened ash of other species. In the European part of Russia, European ash, Fraxinus excelsa, and green ash, Fraxinus pennsylvanica, are most common ash species. Green ash is an introduced species native to North America. Within Russia, it has been used in urban landscape for more than 100 years, and it's most susceptible ash to AAB infestation. The area of ash-dominated forest in Russia is about 6,000 square kilometers, with approximately 2,000 square kilometers in European part and over 4,000 square kilometers in the Asian part. The first detection of emerald ash borer in European Russia was 2003, but we believe that it was introduced 3-5 years earlier in the mid-1980s. When AAB populations increased, the beetle spread rapidly to the territories around Moscow. Surveys conducted in 2013 indicated that emerald ash borer was present in certain regions of the Russian Federation. Over a 20-year period, the emerald ash infestations expanded over 600 kilometers to the southwest, reaching Ukraine. Populations of I know that population of the emerald ash borer have recently been detected in Kiev. Further, south EAB extended its range over 1,300 kilometers, reaching the Astrakhan region. And this year, EAB was detected in Altai territory. It's Asian part of Russia, and the distance between Moscow and Altai is more than 3,000 kilometers. This map shows the regions and years when populations of AEB were first detected. The year of registration refers to the date of AEB detection in these regions. However, we believe that we often first detections the presence of AEB when the population increased and symptoms of tree infestation become visible. The initial AEB3 infestation likely occurred 3-5 years earlier before tree symptoms are visible. It can be difficult to detect early because damage to the trees is hidden under the bark and tree declines is gradual. Next map. This map shows the regions where emerald ash borer outbreaks according to data provided by National Plant Protection Organization Rossельхознадзор. Phytosanitary measures to eradicate outbreaks are currently conducted within 20 Russian regions. The rapid spread of AEB in the European part of Russia occur in forest belts along roads and railways, where green ash and European ash are common. Adult dispersal then continues into interior forest areas, including urban parks and forest plantations. In the invasive range of the emerald ash borer, attacks healthy trees of the genus Fraximus, causing significant physiological damage, resulting in tree mortality within 2 to 3 years. We found that the size of adults Agrilus planipennis varies greatly depending on tree diameter. Adults emerging from ash samplings are significantly smaller in size than adults from mature trees. AEB, next slide. AEB-like cycle in Moscow region is 2 years. AEB infestations begin when female beetles lay their eggs in the bark crevices of ash trees. The eggs are very small, 1 millimeter, and difficult to find. Signs of infestations include the following symptoms: crown dieback, epicornic sprouting of the base of tree, larva galleries on the bark, and D-shaped adult imagines holes 3 to 4 millimeters wide on trunks on main branches. As a result of such massive and rapid spread of the AEB, million trees have been killed in European part of Russia. According to our observations, in 3-4 epicornic ash sprouting with accuse following the loss of the main stem are not infested because the pest populations is sharply reduced as a result of infestation by parasitoid larvae of AEB. I remember in 2010 or maybe 11, we had the task from our institutes to make the collections of AEB adults. We decided to find these beetles in Moscow region. We couldn't find. we couldn't find because population is decreased very, very much to minimum. That new shoots was okay, but we and only the died trees that when have been infected AAB remind us that AAB attacks several years ago these trees. How does the spread of AAB occur? We believe there are three main pathways. First one, natural flight, primarily in forest belts along roads and railways. Adult AAB can fly up to 10 kilometers, but they usually do not spread far from where they emerge. However, they can occasionally fly long a distance under right conditions. A second pathway, the spreading of AB can be carried out our transporting infested products, plant for planting, timber, firewood, long distance transport of pest infested firewood by human occurs in North America, but this tradition is not practically this tradition and practice is not conducted in Russia. It's not tradition in Russia. Hitchhiking of vehicles is also possible. It's the third pathway. Studies conducted by my colleagues have shown that the AB placed on the car bonnet can be moved considerable distances. Other colleagues have also observed adult beetles on sun-warmed cars. AAB adults has also been found on the clothing of resource professionals working in ash plantations infected of AAB. Ongoing research found that immediately after the detections of AAB in Moscow, Russian National Plant Protection Organization began monitoring activities in Moscow regions and neighboring areas, whereas Russian and American manufacturers' pheromone traps were deployed for adults AAB detection. Following the development of EPPO standards for suppressing and eradicating AAB population, similar standards were developed for the Russian Federation. The most effective treatment strategy is sanitation, which included the removal and destruction of infested trees. However, it is difficult to eliminate all infested wood. Million trees have been lost due to AAB infestation. Ongoing research found that 3-4 years after the initial infestation of ash trees by AAB, its abundance decreased significantly to endemic levels due to the activity of parasitoid. Whereas parasitoids have been identified attacking AAB, which significantly reduced the pest populations, and Spartus palonicus is the most widespread parasitoid of AAB. Russian National Plant Protection Organization continued its work on AAB outbreak eradication in the regions where it spread. Sanitation in the principal treatment was involved felling a removal of infested trees. Infested material is subsequently burnt or processed into the wood leaves. The last process is more common. I have seen very often in our street, in our regions that apply. this equipment. Infested material is subsequently burnt and processed into wood chips. However, the value of parasitoid attacks of AAB should not be discounted as a means of natural control of AAB population. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much, Oleg, Kulinich, for presenting the situation in the Russian Federation, the spread, damage, and control. And we have time for some questions. So can you please read the first question?
Yeah. So there is a question from Anita Benko-Beloklavek, and the question is, has Russian Federation conducted any research of survival of EAB in wood chips? If yes, what size of wood chips is mortal for EAB? Do you want to translate?
I will just translate into Russian. Олег Андреевич, вопрос, что проводилось ли в Российской Федерации исследование выживаемости златки в древесной щепе? И если да, то какой размер является смертельным для этого вредителя?
Usually we applied recommendations which was in our standard. Our standard we made it's nearly one-to-one. We have it's a similar with standard of EPPO standards. You know that 2.5 millimeters of diameters it's enough for if that EAB will be not survive in such chips. And I don't know what kind of standards will be in this equipment, but we recommend this one.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. We have a second question for you from Pascal Rousse. Do we have more precise data about the susceptibility of European Fraxinus species compared to F. pennsylvaticus?
Я тоже переведу. Если в России более точные данные по чувствительности европейских видов Fraxinus по сравнению с пенсильваником.
I can say first died Fraxinus pennsylvanica. When the Fraxinus pennsylvanica is absent, they attacks Fraxinus excelsa. And Pennsylvanica died very, very quickly, 1-2 years, during 1-2 years. But on my mind, Fraxinus excelsa, it's maybe survived several years and died, and it last died. Do you understand my questions? Is it enough?
Yeah, it's enough, and maybe I can add that there was a paper published in 2017, review paper, with the data on several species of ash, and the research was conducted in Moscow Botanical Garden. So you can see the comparative data. We have a lot of questions, but maybe one now, last question to Russia, and then we'll see maybe at the end of the webinar, we'll the first one.
So we have a last question from Andrina Rosselli. Are the measures taken efficient in declining the EAB population and limiting the spread?
And again, I will translate it. Были ли какие-то меры эффективные, которые привели к сокращению численности популяции и к ограничению распространения?
Difficult and easy questions. It's my personal opinions. What shall we do in such situation? I mean, in Russian, you look at focus. From the first size, nothing, because it spread very, very quickly. But from that problem that every time we followed for AB. First, the AB attacks trees. We see that signs only when the beetles image from trees. And after then, we began to make eradications. But it's any measures. I don't know how to apply it in other measures to decrease the population except parasitoid. That parasitoid follows for 2AB, and 2, 3, maybe 4 years later, or 3 years maybe enough. That parasitoids decreased AB populations to minimum. It's not to nothing. You make only to put away these dead trees. I don't know what kind of any eradication measures may applied in such situation. I know that Americans, for example, if they have similar situations, they removed AAB from plant quarantine list.
Okay, thank you, Oleg, Kulinich, for answering these questions. Maybe we come later back to other questions, but I would propose that we continue with the next presentation, which will be given by Darya Straltsova from Belarus, and we'll hear about the preparedness of Belarus for the arrival of this pest. So, Darya, the floor is yours. Please, you can share your screen in your presentation and start your presentation. Darya, please go ahead.
Включите микрофон там, пожалуйста. Он включен. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon. I would like to tell you about some measures in order to prevent entry and spreading of emerald ash borer in Belarus. Emerald ash borer is one of the most devastating pest of ash trees in the world. It is on the list of 20 priority quarantine pests of European Union, the EPPO A2 list and A2 list of Eurasian Economic Union. EAB was first detected outside its native range in the early 2000s, and by the late 20s, it was reported in Canada, the USA, Ukraine, and European Russia. Emerald ash borer wasn't detected in Belarus and was well established up to 70 and 180 kilometers from Belarusian borders. A combination of suitable climate and host availability increase the likelihood of invasion of the beetle to Belarus. Forests occupy about 40% of the Belarusian territory, and the total area of ash plantations is about 13,500 hectares, which is 0.16% of forested area. However, despite of small amount of ash trees, the loss of them would disrupt the soil and can lead to increased erosion and reduced biodiversity. The most common ways for spreading of emerald ash borer is moving with infested ash wood, plants for planting, and sometimes it could be possible through beetle fly or with transport. Belarus imports only a small amount of ash wood and plants for planting. For example, in 2023, we imported about 326 cubic meters of ash wood and 23 pieces of plants of planting. And all this material is comply and must comply with requirements for the import of Eurasian Economic Union. Survivalness activities include surveying high risks sites such as nurseries, wood processing enterprises, and green areas along roads and railways. The optimal period for this file service is period from May to November, and all inspections are governed by the National Protection Organization of Belarus. Along with these regulatory and surveillance activities, the NPPO continues its efforts to raise public awareness about EIB. These campaigns include distribution of informational materials and preparation of online resources to inform the population about prevention of entry and spreading of the pest. Also, all latest news are posted on our official website. The Emerald Ash Borer action plan is currently being developed in our republic to provide a coordinated response and to help to respond to potential negative effects of the pest. The primary and main goal of this plan is to delay introduction of the emerald ash borer in Belarus and to detect and contain the beetle population and mitigate impacts if and when EIB does arrive. This plan will outline appropriate and coordinated response and steps in case of detection of the emerald ash borer. On the slide, you can see the key elements of this plan. It will be include and outlines specific roles and responsibilities for various stakeholders in our republic, for example, many agencies will be included in realization this action plan, like our NPPO and, for example, Ministry of Forestry. Also, it will be discuss and describe the measures, phytosanitary and other measures. And upon suspicious of emerald ash borer, the authorities will conduct surveys to confirm the presence of the pest. This involves expert examination of samples and samples of the insect or infested wood should be collected and sent to diagnostic servers for confirmation. Once EIB is confirmed, in their immediate quarantine measures should be implemented. For example, we must prohibit the transport of firewood, logs, and other ashwood products from infested area to prevent further spread. Buffer zones and quarantine areas should be established as soon as possible after discovery of outbreak to help minimize the spread of pest. All infested plants are removed, examined, and disposed of to prevent further spread. In some cases, insecticides may be used to protect trees from infestation. We have some certified insecticide for this purposes. Also, we can inform the public and relevant stakeholders about outbreaks and provide guidance on how to identify the symptoms on infestation and how to report about this. By taking these steps, the spread of emerald ash borer can be effectively managed. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Darya, for your presentation. So there is a question for you. This is a question. You can see that this is only a matter of time until the beetles reach the borders of Poland. How much time do we have in eastern Poland to prepare for this invasion when the beetles are in our country?
Darya, would you be able to give some indication as you are discussing with your colleague?
I would like 1 minute to discuss this question with my colleagues. It's okay? Is it okay?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Or we can make a break and just answer the questions after the break.
Really, it is very difficult to give some this estimation because we have some outbreaks near our borders for 4-5 years, and it's stable. and we're still waiting.
Yeah, and I can imagine that it also depends on what measures your neighboring country takes to slow down or to slow down the spread or contain the pest. So that's also one of the aims of this webinar, that we exchange experience and what we can do. And that's also one of the following questions.
Yes, another question. Which active ingredients are you allowed to apply in insecticides?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes. Which active ingredients are you allowed to apply in insecticides?
Really, I don't know how to spell it in English, but it's peretroidy in Russian.
Yeah.
Peretroids.
Peretroids
In English, yes. So, and did I understand well that you have approved already pesticides to be used in case the emerald ash borer arrives to control this pest?
Yeah, we have a list of certified insecticide for this purposes.
Okay. Thank you. And how effective are these insecticides in the eradication? Do you have any idea? Because I assume you've tested it.
Excuse me, can you please repeat the question?
How effective are insecticides on the eradication of EAB?
You can also read the question in the question and answers. Yeah.
Насколько эффективны инсектициды в эрадикации?
It's really difficult to say about it because we haven't any experience to use it against emerald ash borer, but it's effective against another beetles.
Last question. Yeah, and so the last question is, what size of buffer and eradication zone is planned in Belarus? Thank you.
Какой размер буферной зоны рекомендован в Беларуси?
About 2 kilometers.
All right, thank you. And this one as well? Yeah, and the last question, is there a method of stem injection of insecticides against EAB? Dmitry, can you help?
Yes, we have methods of injection, but we use it against other beetles.
All right, thank you very much, Darya, for your presentation and for answering all the questions.
Yeah, thank you. And we're a bit ahead of the schedule, but that gives us more time at the end. So if you have further questions, feel free to type them in the question and answer section. So I propose now that we have a 10-minute break before we continue with the other countries' preparedness, like Estonia, Finland, and Latvia. So it's now around 11. So 10 minutes past 11 Paris time. And I know that some of you are in another region. So 10 minutes past 11 Paris time, we proceed. So please stretch your legs and come back fresh in 10 minutes. And then we continue with the Estonian presentation. Thank you all. So welcome back, everybody. We'll resume the webinar. And before I go to Estonia, it's good to draw the attention to the question and answers. I've seen that the panelists have answered some of the question. They are only able to answer questions directly, but I've seen that also a number of participants have answered questions by starting a new question, which is very useful. So if you know or you have valuable information on a question, feel free as any participants to answer a previous question by starting a new question. It will all be and recorded, and the participants can look at that and see whether their question is answered. So it's not directly linked to the question, but feel free to use the questions also to answer one of the previous questions. Having said that, we'll continue, and I would like to give the floor to Mart Kinkar from Estonia. He will introduce himself from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Board on a survey of Agrilus planipennis in Estonia. Mart, please go ahead. I've seen you've shared your screen already. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nico, and hello to everyone. I hope you can see and hear me well. So during my presentation, I'm going to briefly talk about the survey activities of Agrilus planipennis in Estonia, and also about the awareness raising, and lastly, a few slides about a recent study visit of two of my colleagues to Oregon State, US on EAB. So here's an overview of the survey activities done in Estonia. So the first year of the survey was in 2015. Then it was done by visual inspection of the host trees. Then in 2019, we rearranged the survey according to the EFSA survey methodology and did the first calculations with the rebest tool at that time. And we also included trapping to the survey design. And you can see from the pictures, this is the way we set up the traps high in the tree canopy here in the pictures. Then in 2021, we re-evaluated our risk areas because in 2020 there was the outbreak in Russia in St. Petersburg. So we because of that, I think EAB became one of our biggest concerns, one of our biggest threats in plant health in Estonia, because the outbreak in St. Petersburg is a bit more than 100 kilometers away from the Estonian border. So this is a really alarming fact. And after 2021, we have carried on with the surveillance pretty much the same way, using mainly the sticky traps. The time of the survey is June to August during flight season. So the inspection frequency is in every 2 weeks. We use both pheromone and chiromone, and the number of trapping sites, at least in this year, was 91, where the sticky traps are changed in every 2 weeks. So these are the traps and attractants that we use. We mainly now are using the neon bright green sticky traps baited with pheromone and chiromone. And we have tested and tried different multifunnel traps, and we keep doing so. But in our experience, the sticky traps work best, at least in catching native Agrilus species in Estonia. So, of course, one of the challenges in preparing and designing a survey is knowing where the target population is located. So there's not a lot of ash that can be found in forests. There's less than 1 or even less than 0.5% of all forest areas contain ash trees. So ash is not an important tree for forestry sector. Its importance is mainly to preserve the natural diversity. And of course, the ash population has been decreasing due to the damages by already the ash bark beetle and ash dieback. So ash trees can be found mainly in private forests, urban areas, roadsides, landscape areas, villages. And there are 2 species of ash that can be found in Estonia, the native species Fraxinus excelsior and Fraxinus pennsylvanica, that's mainly grown in urban areas. And here are some just a few pictures to show that the damages, the other damages of Fraxinus species in Estonia by the bark beetles and ash dieback. So, but how to overcome this challenge of knowing where the target population is located? A few years ago, we decided to go and really go on spot and map the ash trees in the high-risk areas ourselves, because these areas were not that big, and Estonia is a small country, so we could really do that. Of course, it wasn't a total inventory of all the ash trees, but it was way better than before. During our survey, we focus only on high-risk areas, high-risk locations, which is the areas in the vicinity to the Russian border, then border posts, importers of ash wood from Ukraine and North America, and also the main highways and the stops along the main highways. The inspection unit we use also in the calculations is 1 hectare with at least 1 ash tree in it, and we consider the high risk area to be in 2 kilometer radius from the risk location. So in 2024 we had 91 trapping sites in 8 different counties in Estonia. So as you can see, a lot of survey activity is concentrated near the Russian border, but you can see from the smaller picture that a lot of the border area is actually covered with a big lake. So the border is not actual land border between Estonia and Russia is not that big. And so there's also many survey sites concentrated near Tallinn, which is the biggest port, and also a few of the importers are located there. So this is the overview of the trapping sites in the high risk locations and areas. And this is an overview of different Agrilus species caught in our sticky traps from 2019 to 2024. And In 2024, there were local Agrilus species in 73 out of the 91 trapping sites, mainly Agrilus convexicollis. You see that number was quite high there. And compared to the sticky traps, compared to the funnel ones, you can really see that at least for the native Agrilus species, the sticky traps are doing quite a good job in capturing them. And now a few words about awareness raising, because I think it's an important part of every survey activity, or being prepared for preparing for the worst. So awareness raising is for sure done while doing the survey in the high-risk areas, because we have seen that people really are interested in what the inspectors are doing there, what they are putting up high in the trees, and they are really interested. And so this way we can have more eyes looking for this certain pest in the high-risk areas. We have also created different sorts of information material, leaflets of Agrilus planipennis in different languages. We have occasionally publish some newspaper articles in magazines, press releases about the survey activities each year. And of course, we have official information in the NPPO official webpage. We have been in a quite popular environmental TV show, so it's a subject that interests many people. And of course, there are different sorts of other plant health campaign activities where we try and go and raise awareness and tell people about this pest. We have had great activities during the International Day of Plant Health. You can see in the upper left picture there are different quarantine species standing there in a row. So it's a really good way and a fun way to get people interested in these activities. And now 2 slides about a study visit of 2 of my colleagues to Oregon, USA. So they went for in September this year. They went to Oregon, USA, to really get the hands-on experience from one outbreak site, to be able to really have that hands-on experience. And in Oregon, the first finding was in 2022. And for now, the current situation is that the insect is already established in the area, and really there are no effective measures for eradication for these populations over there. So the current EAB management strategy in Oregon is using a combination of these response tools to slow the onset and progression of ash mortality, which include the girdling of and debarking of ash trees, the prophylactic insecticide treatment, injecting it to the trees, selective ash removal, and also biological control with the egg parasitoid and a few larval parasitoids. And there were the colleagues couldn't be more happier with the experience they gained with the study visit. They got to see really the hands-on experience how people in Oregon use their traps, etc. One of the take-home messages was the importance of training relevant stakeholders, arborists, power line workers, anyone who could be useful during an outbreak situation. And one thing that we'll try to take into account in our survey activities is the girdling of ash trees and sampling of the trap trees. Now that we have this practical experience, so any kind of such collaboration, we can highly recommend it. So thank you for your attention.
For your presentation and sharing your experience on surveillance and also on public awareness raising and the importance of it. And it's also a good idea to look to countries where it's established already, what they do and what we can learn from them. We go to the questions. Liisa?
Yes, so the first question is it difficult to remove the insect sample from the sticky trap in the laboratory? Is there some kind of method to remove them without damaging the sample?
Yes, that's a good question. I think that when we started with the sticky traps, it was one of the problems that the laboratory the laboratory was concerned of, but they found a solution to it, and I think that with almond oil, the laboratory technicians could really easily then take the insects from the sticky traps. So they found a solution to that.
Thank you, Mart.
Thank you very much. So the second question is, do you have a hypothesis on what may be driving the increase in A. convexicolis in your traps? Were the traps numbers consistent across years?
That's a good question. I don't really have a good answer to that. I think yeah, because in recent years, I think that the trapping sites have been quite consistent. So I presume that it's just that the populations of convexicolis are quite high in these areas. But it's a good question. We could look into that.
Thank you. And the last question is there any intention, long-term plan by the ministry in Estonia to safeguard ash trees and genetic resources of ash due to ADB, EAB?
More questions.
That would be a good idea. I think I haven't heard of such an activity. Yeah, I don't think there's at least for now. I haven't heard of any such initiative.
All right, thank you. We have a lot of questions, so I will ask a few more. What kind of measures do you think are necessary in order to deal with EAB once introduced, beyond felling, insecticides, and parasitoids? In other words, what comes after an introduction of EAB? Focus on breeding of ash trees, for instance?
So, sorry, can you repeat the main part of the question?
Yes,
again?
Sure. Just in case, you can read them in the Q&A section. If you look at the bottom of the page, of the Zoom page, you have the Q&A section, and you can read them. This one was written at 11:24, if it helps.
Okay.
So what kind of measures do you think are necessary in order to deal with EAB once introduced, beyond felling, insecticides, and parasitoids? In other words, what comes after an introduction of EAB? Focus on breeding of ash trees, for instance?
That's again a good question. Well, first, I guess the very immediate actions are the things that are required by law and what are also written in the contingency plans, and what we really are obliged to do. Of course, I guess there is some flexibility in these measures. It's I think one of the key issues is communication and having everyone on board in what's really the end objective of this whole exercise. And I wouldn't think that clear cutting all the ash trees is in anyone's interest. So I guess it depends a lot by the case itself. Where is it found, and trying to find the best solution. I hope this answers a bit.
Thank you very much, Mart. And another question is, are insecticides and biocontrols used at the same time in the same areas?
I don't have a good answer to that, I'm afraid. I wouldn't. My first guess is that that you really have to be careful not to undo some of the things that have been already done. Yeah, I can provide this answer maybe in writing to after consulting with my colleagues.
Thank you very much, Mart, for your presentation and all the answers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mart, for sharing your experience. And of course, if we knew the answer on how to control it, it wouldn't be much of a concern. So it's good to exchange this experience. I would like to go to the experience in Finland. Liisa Vihervuori. Probably I pronounced your name wrongly, but you can do it correctly.
Okay.
Please go ahead, share your screen, share your presentation, and share your experience on your preparedness.
Thank
Floor
you.
is yours.
Thank you. And greetings from Finland and from the Finnish Food Authority, where I work. So my title today is Preparedness of Finland for Arrival of Agrilus planipennis. First, of course, we have lots of legislation that we had to follow concerning the species. It is a priority pest, as many of you know, in this legislation, and it means that we will have to survey the pest every year, and we will have to draw up a contingency plan and carry out simulation exercises. In the picture, you can see one of our traps hanging in a tree. That is one of our sticky traps. We have used those for many years in Finland. And then about the surveys, we started the first trappings in 2016. So we have had experience for almost 10 years now. But luckily, we haven't found a species. And we have Fraxinus, different species growing in Finland, but only one native species, which is Excelsior. And the main of the trees grow in cities and parks along the roads, and some also in forest, especially in southwestern Finland. And we have also done visual inspections, but of course visual is a bit difficult method because the holes are so small. So we have also used tree climbing as one method to see better where the possible holes would be. And we have used pheromones in these traps, pheromones and leaf volatiles. And we have put the traps in our risky areas and sites. And we have, and I will tell more about those risky places later. As you know, we have closest outbreak of Agrilus planipennis in St. Petersburg. That is the closest one of Finland. And the outbreak area is now 130 kilometers from the border of Finland. And if it will get closer to us, so maybe we will have to implement the legislation and do buffer zone with the wood movement and plant movement restrictions in there. But let's see what happens. I hope not in near future at least. But we conduct intensive surveys in that area to see what is happening at the border area. And then if we look closer to our southeastern border area of Finland, you may see on the map that we have those observations of host trees, fraxinus trees on this map, on those pink and blue and green spots there, or squares. And you may see that we don't have a lot of observation in southeastern border area, which is very good situation for us, because of course that makes the spread not that easy for the planipennis. And we put yearly about 20-30 traps in southern Finland, southeastern and western Finland, to those risky sites and places. For example, parks and seaports and airports and wood storage areas. And then in this map, you can see how the fraxinus is distributed in Finland. It's in the picture, it's only half of Finland, the southern part of Finland. But you can see that in northern parts of the country, there are very few observations of fraxinus. So we will mainly do our surveys in those southern and western areas. Of course, in addition to those eastern border areas. But we don't, even though we have this map, it's not official map, and we don't exactly know how many trees of fraxinus we have and where they are situated. So this is I don't know how good or what's the reality, but I guess it reflects reality. And we also have some other non-native Fraxinus species such as Pennsylvanica and Americana. And then we have had some difficulties in our surveys during the years. Of course, we don't have the official distribution data, as I told, and trees might grow in private areas, so it might be difficult to find them. And of course, we have long distances in Finland. And of course, you should identify the species right to be able to survey. And then one thing is about hanging the traps in a good way. And we try to put them up high as suggested in EFSA paper. So we have 3 climbers in our plant inspectors. So a couple of them can do this tree climbing, which is very good when surveying, and of course if we had this outbreak area, it would be very good ability. And of course, we have to identify our risky sites and places to know where to put our traps and efforts. And that's why we had this special awareness raising campaign a couple of years ago to make people aware about the risk and situation. And we also wanted to know where the Fraxinus trees were growing, because without that information, it's quite impossible to prepare. And these are examples of how we implemented the campaign that is called Bonga Saarni, in English, like find a Fraxinus kind of campaign. So we had many different social media platforms used, and we got lots of responses and activities, and it turned out that it went so well that we had lots of new Fraxinus observation in the system in Lai.5. So we know now better where the Fraxinus are growing, which is very, very good situation. And then we utilized the information that we had gained from the awareness raising project, and we could prepare a risk map for emerald ash borer for the first time in Finland. And we had analyzed and we had found entry points and high risk areas, and we could combine it with the new host data, so we could have this new very informative map about the situation in Finland. And altogether, in conclusion about our surveys in Finland conducted from 2016, we have not found the species, but we have found some other Agrilus, and some scolutids, and sawflies. But also we have this ash dieback in Finland, and the damages caused by these other species resemble, of course, the EAB. And well, but only the EAB forms the D-shaped exit hole, so we could see that from that symptom. But we will continue awareness raising project and activity with cities and horticultural sector and researchers, because we think that it's very, very useful way to prepare ourselves. We, for example, have this very valuable site in Helsinki that is UNESCO World Heritage Site, and there are lots of Fraxinus growing, and we are a bit worried what would happen to them if the species came. But then just a few words about our contingency plans concerning planipennis. They are not published, ready yet, but we have this plan to have a combination of a general plan and then the species-specific plan. And in general plan, we would have the basic, the roles and how to establish this emergency group and how to make decision and how to function. But then in this species-specific annex that we are going to prepare, we will have more about the species-specific legislation and pathways and things like special considerations related to the species, such as possibilities to biological control or some other control measures. We don't have any chemical control measures available in Finland. That's why we try to find more about the biological control possibilities. Then the annex will include ways of prevention of spread and the eradication measures and some other ways of preventing spread. And then, of course, one of the main thing is to demarcate the area and how it will be done, how to done the delimiting survey, and how to monitor this area. And we have learned a lot when doing this Agrilus planipennis draft. We have reflected our measures that we conducted with Anoprophora glabripennis in Finland a couple of years ago. So we try to not to do the same mistakes again with this species. So that's our plan. So thank you very much. That was my presentation today.
Thank you very much, Liisa, for sharing your experience with being prepared for a possible arrival. So thank you very much. And I see there are some questions, so I give the floor to Liisa to read the questions.
Yes, so the first question is, did you think about repellents against the pest?
Repellents?
Yes.
Well, no, I guess we have not thought about the repellents yet.
All right, thank you. Another question is, it is my understanding that Finland has ranked all quarantine pests in the tool FinPrio. Just out of curiosity, how high does emerald ash borer rank in risk in the FinPRIA ranking?
Thank you for a good question. It's ranked quite high, I remember. Of course, there are hundreds of species ranked, so it's one of the highest, if I remember right. I could check it and maybe I could take a picture even from the FinPRIA.
Thank you very much. So the next question is, does Finland also uses almond oil for the removal of insects from the sticky traps?
I have not heard about that before, but I will tell about the tip to our lab.
Actually, if I can, it's actually citrus oil that is used, not almond oil. So I need to correct that mistake. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I will tell.
Thank you, Mart, for the information and for having checked it.
All right. Next question. This one.
Yeah.
Similar to Finland, Sweden has identified that a major challenge in the case of an outbreak is knowing where the ash trees may be located. Have you incorporated some actions regarding this in your contingency plan for EAB?
Well, maybe our project Bongasar, this awareness raising campaign, was the effort that we put to get the information about the locations of our fraxinus trees. I guess that is the best that we can do at the moment, but of course we could repeat the campaign and we could get more findings on this map. But of course, it could be included somehow in the contingency plan, some kind of awareness.
Thank you. Next question. F. excelsior is an important structuring tree in natural alluvial forests, habitat 91E0. What is the advised management approach there? And is it different for infestations in urban areas, for instance? Not much to do. Invest in breeding more resistant trees?
I'm not sure if I remember the first questions, but what about the breeding? I guess it's not in at the moment happening in Finland, any kind of breeding against planipennis. I have not heard anything about that. But what were the other questions, please?
So just 1 second, please.
No, it was not a question. It was just description of the situation that they are structural species.
Exactly. Yeah. So the next question is, when you detected other species of Agrilus, which we are not regulated, what measures do you apply?
Oh, nothing if they are not regulated. Usually they are more threatened kind of species in Finland, those that live in fraxinus.
All right. Thank you very much, Liisa, for your replies and also for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liisa. And thank you also indeed for answering so many questions. We go to the preparedness of Latvia. Sandra Zandere from Latvia will give a presentation how Latvia is prepared. So Sandra, please share your screen and your presentation, and then you can start. Sandra, the floor is yours.
Hello to everyone. Can you see my presentation and do you hear me?
Yes.
It's all good. Thank you. The title of my presentation is Preparedness for Potential Outbreak of Emerald Ash Borer, Agrilus planipennis in Latvia. So just a brief information on the pest. It is an insect and European Union quarantine pest, priority pest, and it is approaching European Union borders recently. It poses a real threat to ash trees in Europe because it kills ash trees in just a few years' time, and no other local Agrilus species affect living ash trees. And here is a map from EPPO global database. We already seen it today. So the native range of the pest is in East Asia. The first known outbreak outside of the native range was around 1999 in the US. And first outbreak in Europe was in 2003 in Moscow, Russia. And further, now there were reports on pest spreading in Russia, other regions of Russia, and also Ukraine. So I just made a zoom picture of map to see where Latvia is situated. So we have Russia on the east, and I indicated with the red marks the two closest outbreaks to Latvian border. Since the beginning of detection surveys, pest has not been found in Latvia, but the closest outbreaks to Latvian border are in Russian Federation. It is in the north, it's St. Petersburg outbreak from 2020, and in Smolensk area near the Belarus border, it's since already 220 and 12, sorry. So it's 12 years. And both these outbreaks are approximately 300 kilometers away from Latvian border. So next slide, I'll just talk about host plants in Latvia. The only local species, European ash, Fraxinus excelsior. It is found in mixed broadleaf forests at riverbanks, wetlands, and in mixed with alder. Also quite common, but not very, very common in urban settings, along roadsides, alleys, parks, gardens, urban plantations, and also, as I said, it is not very popular, but it is distributed throughout the country. So here I put a map of distribution range of European ash, and Latvia is close to the northern border. And in the next slide, I talk a bit more detail about distribution of ash in population of ash in Latvia. So forests occupy approximately 58% of territory, and of those, ash stands occupy less than 0.5% of forested area. As you see, it is maybe more common in central south, but I must say that there are mainly agricultural areas, so not a lot of forested areas, and it means that it is maybe a good situation in the eastern part that their ash is not very common tree. As to population of ash trees in year 2000, there were approximately 21,000 hectares of forest with ash stands, but some 23 years later, now we have statistical data that the amount has decreased to about 7.9 thousand hectares, and mainly due to ash dieback and maybe some other pests. It is about 1/3 of previous population of ash trees, which is rather significant. And we don't have a reliable data on ash trees in urban settings, unfortunately, but our inspectors are making visual observations, and those places are also, some of those places are known. Other host ponds in Latvia are introduced species, for example, green ash, Fraxinus pennsylvanica. It is found rarely in parks and urban plantations. I also wanted to mention the other host plant species, white fringe tree, Hionanthus virginicus, which is very, very rare, just maybe in some parks and botanical gardens, but just not to forget about it. Very beautiful ornamental tree, but not very hardy for cold winters. And I indicated some risk factors for ash trees in Latvia. Why are they susceptible to emerald ash borer invasion? In many regions, trees are weakened and stressed because affected by fungus Cholera fraxinea, causing ash dieback. And according to reports, more prone to be infested are Fraxinus pennsylvanica, but also Fraxinus excelsior can be infested if no Fraxinus pennsylvanica trees are growing in the area. So it's both species, and actually lot of Fraxinus species are very, very susceptible to emerald ash borer. Most at risk are plants near risk locations, such as railways and highways heading to and from Russia and from Belarus to Belarus, especially truck parking lots, border crossing points. Special attention paid to storage sites of imported ash wood from countries where emerald ash borer is present, for example, Ukraine. Also, ports, airports are of interest concerning possible invasions. Latvia NPPO recently has determined high-risk areas where are intensified surveys carried out, and those are approximately 11 risk locations, which are storage sites of imported ash wood and their surrounding area, which is monitored for potential presence of the pest. Most sites are situated in central regions of Latvian territory. And also we have indicated this large high-risk area, which is adjacent to a Latvian border with Estonia, Russia, and Belarus. It is it consists of 10 municipalities, and at its main higher width is approximately 70 kilometers. Let's talk about surveys in Latvia. There have been annual detection surveys on Agrilus planipennis since 2015. Ash trees in forests in high-risk area close to Russian border and Belarus border has been monitored since. And more specific sites also are indicated. Those are, as I already told, the storage sites of imported ash wood from countries where EAB is present. Also, ash trees are monitored in parks, in terrariums, botanical gardens, and this is done throughout the country. And host plants also are visually inspected for signs of emerald ash borer during inspections at nurseries, garden centers, private gardens, and all other locations where our inspectors are working. Visual inspections are carried out from mid-May to mid-October, And trapping with pheromone traps, we usually use these funnel traps, are done from June to August. I wanted to talk more detail about trapping because these early signs are rather non-specific. It may be similar to that of ash dieback. Trapping is very important. First traps in Latvia were put in 218 at border cross checkpoints by inspectors of import control of State Food and Veterinary Service. Latvian State Plant Protection Service are putting traps since 2020. Ash trees in forests in high-risk area from 2020. Storage sites of imported ash wood since 2022. And ash trees in parks in high-risk area near eastern border are trapped since 2023. According to European Union legislation, a statistically sound risk-based survey of Agrilus planipennis is mandatory from 2027. And according to this statistical method, detection surveys shall be able to identify with at least 95% confidence a level of presence of the pest of 1%, which is very precise. And we calculated with EFSA developed tools that we will need approximately 300 traps for conducting detection survey in territory of Latvia. So in the case of an outbreak, additional traps will be required for monitoring pests in the buffer zones. Also, trapping of emerald ash borer is quite challenging, as colleagues already indicated, that unfortunately we don't have climbers amongst our inspectors, and yes, additional equipment is needed to set up a trap high in canopy, which is rather difficult. Also, the funnel traps are rather fragile, they can be destroyed, and they can be also stolen, unfortunately, collected by locals. So it is very sad that these traps are not serving the term, these 2 months time they should work and collect samples. Also, for funnel traps, there are a few offers globally, so not a lot to choose from, as we have searched for these offers, and it's unfortunate. Also, if we have this amount of traps, it will also raise question where to store all these traps between seasons. And here on picture you see this light green funnel trap that is deployed by State Plant Protection Service Latvia. And just made some visual charts to show how we have intensified the EEB surveys in recent years. The first chart is visual inspections that it's steadily been growing from 2022. Checks at import storage sites and forests and parks and terrariums in green, which is the most part from these inspections. Also, second chart about trapping. In 2023, as I already mentioned, we added trapping in parks and in terrariums near eastern border, and so steadily the amount of traps are growing. We plan to improve next year also. Just few steps about preparing for a future outbreak. Just a summary, what we have done and what we are planning to do. So as I was talking about, these high-risk areas are determined and surveyed annually. Also, Latvia prepared a contingency plan for emerald ash borer in 2023. The plan is to be updated in soon future. Also, we are preparing action plan on emerald ash borer, which is in progress, and we're planning just to write down all the activities, all responsibilities of involved parties in PPO and also other institutions which are involved in this process. For example, Forestry Service and Nature Protection Board. Also, this past summer, in July, we performed the internal simulation exercises for our State Plant Protection Service staff. And next year, we plan to perform simulation exercises with external institutions. So it's also a very important step. All this time we are collecting information available on the internet, and the EPPO newsletter on Agrilus planipennis very helpful to get up to date, to search for new publications on and reports on pest biology and trapping and eradication methods. Also to look for some practical experience exchange. As my colleagues already mentioned, also very important part of preparing for outbreak is raising public awareness. We have performed campaigns and also which include press releases and media interviews and some activities in schools and in airport. Also, we created leaflet and informative calendar with entry about the Agrilus planipennis, and the next slide just illustrates our activities in spreading information on Agrilus planipennis. So there are activities at school and also our website with articles about trapping of Agrilus planipennis in parks in this high-risk area near eastern border. Also some TV interviews and so on. And here's a entry on Agrilus planipennis in the calendar and our leaflet, which we are distributing to wood importers as well as general public and our other clients. And while preparing for outbreak, we have indicated a lot of challenges. Maybe all other countries also are facing some challenges. This one is the natural factors about population of ash trees. It is so sparsely distributed and also affected by this fungus disease, ash dieback. So we have just some maybe not very precise information of distribution of ash trees. The forestry data is more precise. But unfortunately, we don't have data on urban settings. Also, trees affected by ash dieback show similar symptoms, and the short season for observations, because you see in picture that ash in early May in Latvia just have no leaves, and it sheds leaves about mid-October. So it's rather a short season for all the trapping and monitoring, and also other tasks and other pests are monitored. Also, ash trees are sometimes difficult to access because they grow near river shores and swamplands, and often trees are very tall and trapping is difficult. But of course, our inspectors try our best, and we're setting traps and doing this work. And also we have the samples testing. Some other challenges, maybe as I already told, is data on ash distribution, yes, in urban areas. Also, eradication methods are a question because, yes, we have this tree felling in legislation, which is obligatory. And so from this, some compensation question also arises, and maybe we will need to look more closely on this compensation mechanism, how it will work in case of eradication. So these compensations for landowners. Also, outbreaks in protected areas are a bit of a unknown right now, how it will be carried out, because this nature protection versus protection from pests, where are different authorities involved, different institutions, and according to legislation, tree felling is prohibited in protected areas, but of course the priorities should be set, and adoption of these rules should be made in the future. So that's all for me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sandra, for sharing the experience from Latvia and the surveillance that you're doing. First, are there any specific questions for Sandra? Can you raise them, Liisa?
Yes, there is a question. In the awareness raising campaigns, how do you make the public aware of the different Agrilus species, as not all are regulated and may not need to be reported?
As to my knowledge, Agrilus species are rather rare, and we're just emphasizing on these quarantine pests. So we're just talking specifically about quarantine pests, the way its biology, its appearance. So I hope that yes, it's a very good thing to maybe publish some information on comparing this species to local species, which we do amongst our inspectors, but it could be one of, yes, very interesting point. Thank you.
Question was also for Estonia, because you have trapped different species. So maybe Mart, if you can say something on this, and then we'll come back to you, Sandra.
Yeah, I saw that question. I was just thinking about it. Maybe one way would be to really associate the Agrilus planipennis with the ash trees, with the host, to make that connection, because I think in Estonia, the other, except Agrilus convexicollis, all the others are pests of, or have different host species than ash.
Yeah.
So if you find anything and there's no ash species around, maybe it's something else. So maybe it's good to have that strong connection.
Thank you, Mart, for stepping in and answering this question. Liisa, any specific question for Sandra?
That's it.
There are still a number of questions. So Sandra, first, thanks for your presentation and answering the questions. But what I would like to give first the floor to the presenters, whether any of the presenters would like to react on any of the still outstanding questions or questions that have been answered already. So is there any of the presenter who would like to react or give additional information on the questions that were raised today?
You can see the questions in the Q&A section.
Yeah, and you can also go to the answered ones. At the top, you can choose between open and answered. So you can also go to the answered ones if you want to give additional information on questions that were answered by one of the other presenters.
Олег Андреевич, вы хотите на какие-то ответить?
If I may, there was one question.
Я могу ответить на некоторые.
First. Yeah.
Okay.
Oleg, go ahead.
Ah,
Yeah, please go ahead, Oleg. Kulinich.
okay. Michelle Clary asked me, what do you think your education efforts were sanitation filling and burning? I can say yes. Sanitary filling it's not essential eradication methods, and on my mind, it depends. No, this is sanitary measures is not stop that EAB. That it depends that it spread it's more quickly that we will apply this phytosanitary measures. Every time this we will be followed for AB. Only the positive this phytosanitary measures that your streets, your town will be look like more good than than before that than before because I saw I show in my presentations where a lot, many, not a lot, that million died trees in the forest belts, and wait that such felling. It's my question, yes. And in other questions, how the EIB came from Moscow. Very interesting question. I would like to know also how they will become. I'm not sure that it will be that it come from Russian Far East. Maybe on my mind it will be come together with wood packaging material from China, maybe from USA. I once in 2010 I sent some specimens of EAB to North America to my colleague. They made the DNA analysis and said me it's close related to Chinese one. But they hadn't population from Russian Far East.
Thank you, Oleg, for answering this question. Was there any other question you would like to react to, Oleg, before we go to Mart?
There's a question regarding the pheromone. Pheromone traps. What kind of pheromones we applied for monitoring of EAB? We applied the first at the first time when we just detected EAB in Moscow and Moscow regions. After later we finished it to apply because it's easier the infections It's the thing is very clear, and it not necessarily was applied the pheromone traps. We applied American, Russian pheromone traps. Americans, it's not maybe comfortable because you know that it's very large pheromone traps, green and blue. It's very attractive for children and such traps. We applied it only the first time when we just detected in Moscow. After then, we finished and used that signs of presence, EAB presence in the trees. Boris Grasovets asked, hello, Boris, question regarding that dynamic of Spatius polonicus population. Is it possible to detect it easy? My colleague Dmitry Ryaskin, but he's a good entomologist. He detected very often. I'm not think that it's not easy, but if you're a good specialist, it is possible. This question maybe will good to put to Yuri Baranchikov, he knows him. Because he worked a little time in this issue.
Oleg.
Very interesting questions. It may be last. Two questions. Will it be possible to monitor EAB with sniffer dogs? I know that our colleagues in Austria applied the dogs for eradications Asian longhorn beetles, and I know that no, and I don't. And I don't know how much dogs we need for such situations when we have in Moscow. In the first time, yes, maybe it is possible, but when we have that such situation, what EAB spread is everywhere, it's not necessary to apply such dogs for detections. Thank you very much. If you have.
Thank you very much, Oleg Kulinich, for answering these questions. Now move to Mart. Mart, you thought there were some questions you could answer with your experience. Please go ahead.
There was just the question that whether insecticides and biocontrols could be used at the same time. So the short answer is yes. So there's no problem in that.
Okay. You have experience with that you say such a firm yes, Mart?
I got the affirmative from my colleagues.
Okay, good. Yeah, I meant not you, but in your country. So you have the experience. Yeah. Thank you. Is there any other question that any of the presenters would like to react on? Otherwise, we'll go through the outstanding question and ask who is going. There was a question about sentinel trees, but I think that needs to be specified because what about sentinel trees is too short to give a clear answer. Is it possible? Is it possible to use it to survey emerald ash borer? That's already. So the question is, can sentinel trees be used to survey for emerald ash borer? Is there any experience? Anybody can answer. So I read sentinel trees here as using specific trees, put them in an area to see whether the emerald ash borer shows up. And of course, we are talking here about very host specific, only ash trees. So, but there may be ash trees that are very sensitive. Any experience?
Yeah, I know that there is a network of sentinel plantations or nurseries and botanical gardens. So they do use ash trees as sentinel trees, but I think it can be used only as like a supplementary, not even measure, but efforts. Because I mean, there is different number of and there are different species of ash in different botanical gardens. You cannot establish many of them immediately, so it's just a supplementary tool which you can use, but it will not cover all the territory. That's my understanding. And EPPO is working together with this network, and probably next year or in 2026 we'll some joint activity, so addressing this issue.
Okay, thank you, Dmitry.
Sorry, Dmitry, I found that my microphone was switched on off. Have you hear my reply or not?
Yes, yes, we could hear, but still there are some more questions. For example, are you felling ash trees without symptoms next to the infected trees? Я по-русски задам, что...
Я понял.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, difficult to say because it depends on the task to that team who made a felling. On my mind that usually they felling that dead trees, but if they have task to felling all trees along the trees, they will do it.
There is a specific question for Sandra, but Sandra is from Latvia, not from Finland. So in the presentation, you calculated that you need 300 traps to monitor with a certain percentage. And the question is, are you using 300 traps a year? And do you do that for several years already? Sandra, can you give an answer to that question? For
Yes,
Latvia?
yes, I can answer. No, we're not using 300 traps yet. It is obligatory from 2027. Maybe not 300 traps, but if there are for high-risk area more traps, then we distribute a smaller amount of traps in other countries, and this amount somehow decreases. But right now we are not using 300 traps. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sandra, for answering this question. Let's just go to one of the other questions and see whether anybody can answer that. Is there more to say about the hitchhiking? That's one of the questions. It was mentioned that it's a means of spread of the pest. Can any of the presenters share some more experience with that? Is it more hypothetical, or was it observed? Anybody, any of the presenters can say something about that?
If not, I can say that Yeah, this is well, it's always difficult to prove to quantify, but yes, it's believed that it happens sometimes. For example, that was most probably the case when the pest jumped from Moscow region and around to St. Petersburg in Russia. So we did not expect it there so quickly, and the jump was like just within a couple of years. So I think it happens. Yeah.
Thank you, Dmitry. Is there any other question?
There was a question. What should be done in forests? If Oleg or somebody else can answer. Yeah, what should we do in natural forests? Just tell people that there is nothing wrong with the dead trees and leave it for woodpeckers.
Yeah, so it's basically, what do you do with dead trees that are possibly killed by emerald ash borer?
Yeah. Or if any measures can be applied to forests just before. Олег Андреевич, вы хотите что-то сказать, что в лесах может быть сделано? Возможно ли какие-то меры?
Nothing. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe this is question more to the colleagues in North America, because they have more ash trees and forests, and yeah.
Question about use of the EFSA guidelines for countries where there is an outbreak and a delimiting surveys. If the ash tree is not very common tree, we use the guidelines of EFSA and survey in bands, or do you plan other approaches in your contingency plan? And if any experience, can you comment on the benefits and disadvantages of survey bands in your specific context? So, does any of the presenters have experience with surveying in bands around an outbreak?
Well, I can say that that we have not fixed that in our contingency plan, which kind of delimiting survey method we would use, either outward or inward. I would think that if for an insect pest, then for this sort of inward delimiting survey, in that you couldn't use pheromones or trapping, because that way you could just lure him out of the center of the outbreak. So it could be done via just visual inspection, and I would guess it's a combination of both, so outward and inward movement of where when it comes to delimiting survey. I would, that's my first answer.
Yeah, and then it's good that you touch on that, Mart, because we are having a contingency plan where many countries have limited experience with surveillance for the pest. So it's also good to keep some flexibility and act when the situation is there. Make your choices. There's more an answer. Is there any other question you think that should be asked?
No, I don't see.
Please.
There is an information that for public, if you want to raise awareness, the color of the abdomen could be a good way to distinguish emerald ash borer from native species. I'm not an entomologist, but here the red coloration is mentioned. No European species has such a color. Of course, the emerald ash borer is green. And that's also, of course, a non-native species if it comes in your country. But indeed, the coloration of the abdomen could be a way of distinguishing species for the public, because you don't expect them to count the number of lids in the antenna or whatever.
I think we're good.
So thanks for who gave that answer. Any other?
There was a question at the end from Martin, but I'm not sure that who can. Yeah.
Question for risk assessors.
Yeah.
If there are less ash because of the ash dieback, does that mean that the risk for emerald ash borer is also lower, or maybe higher? Any ideas on that? So when you have less ash trees due to ash dieback, is then the risk for emerald ash borer lower or higher, or can't we say anything about it?
Yeah, you have less to lose.
Yeah.
But it should be very difficult to answer, because if there is not enough food plant, though the adults will just fly for longer distance. So they're flexible in this.
Maybe we take the next question. Are weakened trees attacked more than healthy trees, and does stress caused by drought or flooding play a big role? Is there any experience on that?
Yeah, and again, if maybe somebody else wants to answer, but my question is yes, that weakened trees, they attract more beetles.
Yeah.
I cannot say anything about flooding or drought, but in general, yes, weakened trees, they do attract.
Yeah. Flooding and drought, of course, also causes stress.
Yeah.
So it may have a similar effect. Any further questions or any answers? Yeah. If not, then I would like to make some concluding remarks. What I notice, and you see that also with the questions, that many countries in the EPPO region do not have experience with emerald ash borer and would like to know more about it. Of course, there are only 2 countries in our region that have more experience. I thank Oleg, Kulinich very much for sharing the experience in Russia. But it's also is an indication that exchange of information and new upcoming information is very important. And in that sense, I would like to point to the network where we can continue to exchange experience. That is really necessary. We can start doing survey, but of course, when we have the first arrival, we have to rely on being ready to act, to have a contingency plan. But as was indicated by Mart also, there are elements in the contingency plan that are uncertain how to act because we don't have the experience. So be flexible in that, but be prepared, and also be prepared by having a contingency plan for the case that it does arrive. Because one of the things that we see from what was presented is if it's well established, it's very difficult. It was also said by Mart about the situation in North America. Once it's established, it's very difficult to eradicate it. So it's important to detect it as early as possible and take action. But it's also important that if you have it, to slow down the further spread so that new areas are not immediately at risk. From this webinar, it's clear indeed that more information exchange is needed. I said already the network is there. And of course, if there is a need for EPPO to organize another webinar, we are ready to do that in the future on this subject, or go a bit deeper in some elements of it. But that depends on you indicating that. And I would say stay in contact with Dmitry. His email address is on the the website for the network, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can always send new information that you have to EPPO, and we can use that in our network to exchange it. Anything to add, Dmitry? Now then, we have kept very well in the time. So thanks first of all to the presenters for being concise in their presentation. Thank you all the presenters for presenting your experience, sharing your experience in the presentation and by answering the questions. And I would like to thank all the participants for raising the questions, and for those that are not a member yet of the network but would like to be kept updated, go to the website of EPPO, and within that the website on the network, and there you can register as a member of the network. And with that, I would also like to thank the staff members here who helped organizing it and keeping it on track during the presentation, and for all the questions, Liisa, Natalie, and Dmitry for organizing this webinar. If you have any feedback, please let us know, because we are considering organizing more webinars in the future. So your feedback is very welcome. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for your interest. And I think this is the first time that EPPO had 450 participants in a webinar. So that shows the interest for the subject. Keep that and become a member of the whole network. But that's also one of the roles EPPO would like to play, to connect people so that you can build a network and exchange experience. So thanks to the presenters, thanks to the participants, and thank you all, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.